And after we talked yesterday about the pre-proposal phase, the budgeting phase of generating the proposal, so we have now a proposal finished. We applied it right before the deadline at the Commission, and finally the Commission decided, or after the evaluation, the Commission decided that our project will be funded. Now we are in the phase between this deadline of the proposal and the start of the project. Very long time during this framework programs, everything was done on paper. So there was a huge amount of paper produced by this, by the big amount of proposals applied in the Commission. So I remember well in my early phase of my work, so we had to apply for 5 copies of the proposal in paper form. Then at that time we didn't have any page restrictions, so that means some proposals have been 250 pages. And you can imagine the pack of paper we then had to apply for, and at that time the deadline counted with the stamp, with the postal stamp on the day of the deadline, so 12 o'clock at night. The stamp must be on the pack you sent to the Commission, and at that time, for example, in Innsbruck at our main post office, there was a long queue of researchers standing with their pack of papers and hoping to get the stamp of the post office before 12 o'clock at night. And of course the post officer, oh, well, he had a lot of time, so he was working very slowly, and people getting more and more nervous with their pack of paper at the end of the queue. But of course our post at the postal office, they knew this, they knew the deadline, and they just want to make them a little bit nervous. But of course, even after 12 o'clock at night, they gifted the stamp, the postal stamp, for the day before, so that everybody could send this pack of paper. So this completely changed. From the 6th framework program on, they developed systems to apply the project without any paper. And now in the H2020, they are we have this really good system of the participant portal where everything is done electronically. The application, the electronic signature, sorry, and everything. So there's no paper anymore. And this is a part of this simplification strategy of the Commission for their framework programs, to make it easier for researchers to apply and to negotiate the proposals. Everything is fully electronic, everything is paperless. The signatures, the applications, and also the notifications from the Commission to the participants runs through this participant portal systems. The financing methods are more simplified, the validation, the evaluation is more simplified, but, and this is even more strict than before, the deadlines are really, really hard. And usually, you know, the Commission, they set you deadlines, so send us something in 24 hours, and then you're really in stress to send it to the Commission, but then you wait maybe 10 days until there's any reaction from them. So this is also something you have to deal with when you're working in this framework programs. But the deadlines set by the Commission really need to be followed very strictly. As Per Inge already mentioned yesterday, and there was some questions, so they call it now the phase between the evaluation of the proposal and the signature of the grant agreement. They don't call it negotiation phase, they call it grant agreement preparation phase. So there is no negotiation possible anymore. So also in the last framework programs, so the evaluators made some proposals, what to be changed in your project, and you then can react on it and can discuss it, why you think it's not a good idea, but now there can be some changes, but it's not negotiable. So the Commission says, in principle, they say you have to take the proposal as it is without any changes, but the evaluators can do some changes. So they can, for example, make some corrections concerning ethical or security issues of the proposal. They can look at the proposal if they are conform with the financial rules. They can even kick out beneficiaries if they think the beneficiaries are, for example, there's a double competence. Two beneficiaries do the same in the proposal. So when they see one beneficiary can be removed, but the project itself will not be changed in a strong way, then it's also possible to remove beneficiaries. And also, projects can be terminated if there are some justified reasons. Then during the project phase, the project itself can be stopped. It also does not mean that the Commission has no control over the proposal. Of course, as we heard yesterday, we still have this certification of financial statements, so these audits. And there are also, of course, anti-fraud measures initiated by the Commission if they have some possible hints that there's any illegal measures running in the project. So no negotiation does not mean no changes and does not mean no control by the Commission. So this is a slide you've seen already yesterday. But this is again just to show that there are really strict deadlines. So this figure here, 8 months between evaluation and contract grant agreement signature, is really strict. And the Commission also keeps her deadline for the evaluation. So latest after 5 months after the deadline, you get the evaluation results. And this is this rule was never broken until I observed the H2020. And after this maximum 5 months for evaluation, the maximum 3 months for this contract preparation phase. In principle, everything runs over the participant portal. There's this ACAS account, which I asked you at the beginning. So this is the system where you get your passwords and your usernames for the system. There's only this one entry point, which can be used for all the Commission systems, for all the electronic systems dealing with any program, not only with the H2020, with any program of the Commission. When you have this ACAS account, then you also get a personalized web space where you have access to your proposals, have access to your projects, have access to all your notifications and informations getting by the Commission. And it's a very transparent system, so everybody who has the relevant roles in this system has access to all the information there. The roles themselves are extremely flexible, so the beneficiaries, the organizations, can assign themselves the roles within their organization and also within their projects. Only one role is pre-given by the Commission. This is this LEA, the legal entitled administrative representative of the organization. This is the only one which is given by the Commission, or everything else is done by the organization themselves. And this digital signatures for any contracts is also handled by the system, both from the Commission and from the beneficiary side. So also the Commission signs your contracts electronically. There are some roles in the organizations which are divided into organization roles and project roles. So the organization roles is this legal entity appointed representative, the leader, so the most important role in your organization, which is the only one directly communicating with the Commission, between you, your organization and the Commission, so only the leader will have this communication. Then we have this legal signatory and the financial signatory role within the organization. This must be entitled by the leader or by the so-called account administrator, who has more or less the same rights like the leader. The only two exceptions are he is not able to change the leader, and he is not able to assign new account administrators. But you can have as much as account administrators at your organizations as much you want. And those, once again, those account administrators can do more or less the same like the leader. So for example, in our organizations, I'm not the leader, I'm an account administrator. So this has just historical reasons, because the leader was entitled before I came to the university, and we did not want it to change it. But I have more or less the same rights, and I'm doing the operative work for all the H2020 issues. And on the project levels, we have the coordinator contact on the coordinating beneficiary side, and we have the participant contact on the beneficiary side, as well as the project legal signatory and the project financial signatory, which can be assigned by selecting them from the list of your organization legal and financial signatory. I show it to you a little bit later in detail. And then we have task managers and team members. Task managers just can read and write their own forms. Team members only can read, only have read rights in the system. This is how it looks like. So the primary coordinator contact is the PI usually at the coordinator side. And this is only one person. There is only one primary coordinating contact at the coordinating side. And he can assign as much as he wants coordinating contacts. They have the two, the financial signatory and the legal signatory, who have the right to submit their own forms and to sign. The financial signatory signs the financial statements. The legal signatory signs, for example, the grant agreement electronically. And on the beneficiary side, we have the same roles. We have the participant contact. We have also the PF sign, the PL sign, and those task managers and team members who only have very restricted possibilities in the system. And the organizational role, once again, the leader, the account administrator, the F sign, and the L sign. Any question about those roles? Okay. What is the minimum? The minimum in the organization looks like that. So there is one leader at the coordinator and at the beneficiary side. There's one PL sign, one PF sign on both beneficiary and coordinating, and one contact. So primary coordinating contact and participant contact. No more is necessary. Maximum one primary coordinating contact, maximum one leader, and as much as you want of the other rows. Who and how can be nominated? On the organization side, once again, the leader can nominate as much as possible account administrators and L signs and F signs. So for example, in our organizations, we have one account administrator, which is me, and 4 L signs and 4 F signs. And on the account administrator also can nominate L signs and F signs. But he cannot nominate account administrators, and he cannot change the leader. The leader can change it. He also can delete the account administrators. And on the project level, the primary coordinating contact can nominate coordinating contacts, task managers, team members, the project signatory roles, and the beneficiary contact. So when the primary coordinating contact or the coordinated contact get the information that he has a funded project, then he needs to check if on the beneficiary side there are already those roles, because he cannot change any other role on the beneficiary side. So the coordinator contact cannot assign the L sign or F sign on the beneficiary side. So his responsibility is to nominate them if they are not existing already. Before now the participant portal negotiation starts, I do recommend you to generate standard operating procedures. So we do have such standard operating procedures. So for example, if I'm sick or if I'm doing a training course in BESTPRAC, anyone else can take these procedures if there has to be done anything within the system, within the participant portal. So first of all, the LIA and the primary coordinating contact or the participant contact, if already assigned, get the information by the Commission that the project will be funded. Then it needs to be checked if, so for example, you as a partner in the proposal, you will check, are you already in the system as a participant contact? This can be done under the participant portal My Proposals section. If not, if you have no role until now in this project, which is now be funded, then you need to inform somebody, so the PI or the coordinator, to give you the role in the project. Then get into the participant portal and assign the roles for the PL signs and PF signs. So this is important because until now, they will not get any notification about the project. Until now, they have no role and they are not in the mailing list, in the electronic mailing list of the Commission, to get informed that someone in the near future, they need to sign this one. And the researcher, for example, at the organization, they don't know anything about those systems. They just rely on you as wherever organization you are, that you will keep track of these administrative steps. So you need this role. Then you assign the PL signs, the project legal signatory and the project finance signatory, and after then, they also get the information that a project need to be signed or accession contract need electronically signed. And then you need to control and edit your data in the system about your organization. When there are some not actual information there, and you need to check them. So how does it work in the system? So the coordinator contact goes to the list of the L signs and P and F signs in the organization, at the organization level, select them and give them the role in the project. Same in the beneficiaries, on the beneficiary side. Morning. So how does it look like in the system? So this is the section of my projects. And at each project you have those different buttons which I explained over here. And as I told you, in the first step you check if you are in this project by this View Project button. So then you are here, so View Proposal button, sorry. Then you are here and you can access to the formally submitted proposal. You also can download it again and check it again. But here you have to go one step further, one step back, and come to this section or this website. And here you can choose the parties. And there, within the parties, you can add participant contacts, or if you're a coordinating organization, coordinating contacts. The next step will be to check the so-called project consortium. So this is a real project, but I deleted all the other beneficiaries, but this is we are the coordinator in this project. And so this is the website of the project consortium, and here you have the possibilities to edit the roles. Then you go on that, and you find this site. So here, all roles already given. So we have already given the legal signatories, the financial signatories, 2 coordinating contacts for the project, and of course the 1 primary coordinating contact. But if it's not done already, you can here add the roles for your organization. So then you get a list of your project, your legal signatories, of your financial signatories, and you can add task members, team members, task managers, whatever you want. Then the next step will be managing projects, as I told you. And here you have click on this project management tool. And here you find a list of the beneficiaries where you need to control and eventually edit your organization information. Sometimes, for example, the organization short name is wrong, or the address is missing, or things like that. So this you have to check here on this side and get the information about your organization and can edit it there. After that, the pre-negotiation phase is done, and the real grant agreement preparation phase starts between you and the Commission. After this negotiation has been finished, or negotiations, this preparation phase has been finished, the Commission will prepare the grant agreement. The coordinator's project legal signatory under managed projects see this grant agreement and can check it. Mainly you check if the start date is correct, if the end date of the project is correct, if the budget is correct, things like that. Then the PL sign initiates the electronic signatory and clicks on sign. So there's only one button, sign, and then that's everything. Then the system creates a new version of the grant agreement, or signed versions of the grant agreement by the coordinator. And the Commission also signs the contract electronically. And then there's automatically notifications to all PL signs at the beneficiary side, which then have to click on the sign button for the accession to the contract. And then the project can start. It's a really streamlined and very efficient system now. So this is a graphical illustration how it looked like. So before the grant agreement, all beneficiaries have to sign this declaration of honor. So this is just a kind of letter of commitment, let's call it like that, that the Commission is, that the beneficiary is ready to take part in the project. Then the grant agreement will be prepared, it will be signed by the coordinator, it will go back to the commission, will be signed by the commission, and the partners will then sign the accession to a form to the contract. As I said, there's also a messaging system in this participant portal where you get the informations, the notifications about the steps which need to come, about all actions you have to do. It can be found in this My Projects area under the Management Project website. So this is the one I showed you with this notification, comes a little bit later. And there's also an inbox, and the notifications will be sent to any relevant roles and also in CC to, for example, the LIR. So one mistake many researchers at the organizations make, or one misunderstanding they have, is that this LIR, because everybody says the LIR is the central role in the system, that this LIR can do anything in the project. He can do nothing in the project. So we also want sometimes, so our national contact point for legal and financial issues tries also to change this. That the LIR also has possibilities within the project. So actually, this is one point in the system I do not really understand. So the LIR is said to be this very important person, but he has no roles in any project. So that's why many of our researchers often contact our LIR, so we need to help you, to help in this project, but as long as he has no assigned role in the project, he cannot do anything. So this is once again how it looks like on the system. This is my notifications where you get your information, what need to be done. And this again is the My Projects website, where you can select all the funded projects or the approved projects or positively evaluated projects, but also the old projects which are already finished. So this system contains all projects from H2020 and all of the FP7 projects. Nothing before, not the FP6 or earlier ones. The same for my proposals. You have the proposal lists of all proposals which are done by your organization, both funded and non-funded ones. And once again, this is the side of the grant agreement preparation data. What is important during these steps? Deadlines. Once again, this is really strict by the Commission. So in order to meet the deadlines, start acting immediately. When you get the notification that your project probably will be funded, start working. Very often you have unexperienced beneficiaries. Help them, assist them somehow. You, as a coordinator, you have also a kind of help desk function. It will finally come to a good end, so don't give up. And of course, you need to know the people at the organizations who are dealing with the systems, who can work on the system. And once again, make your SOPs for standard operating procedures. So if somebody who has a role in the project is sick or on holiday or whatever. Besides the grant agreement, we have another contract, which is the Consortium Agreement. The Consortium Agreement needs to be signed before the deadline of the grant agreement negotiation phase. And this is definitely the most time and effort-consuming work during this phase. So everything other works rather quickly. You can do this in some minutes within the system. But the grant agreement really needs negotiation between the partners, needs work, and needs communication between the partners. it may complement the grant agreement, but never contradict it. So the grant agreement always is the higher one. That's why also the rules of everything you defined in the technical annex, in the Annex 2, is binding for the consortium agreement. So it also cannot contradict anything in the Annex 2, because the Annex 2, of course, is part of the grant agreement. It's meanwhile obligatory for all multi-beneficiary projects. You need to have this. You need to have a consortium agreement. But it's free. So the Commission does not give you any strict forms or any strict templates or whatever. So you can, if you like, you can write a consortium agreement on one page. Nobody does it, but the Commission does not check this. But you need one. And there are templates. So nearly everybody I know uses this DESCA template. So the most widely used template, which can be used for all different kind of projects, both from the research and innovation actions, the innovation actions, the Marie Curie actions, whatever. There are two other ones. The MCART is formerly it was called IBCA, which is mainly for information technology projects, and the EU car, which is mainly for automobility projects, so from the car industry. But the costs for generating and negotiating the consortium agreement are not eligible. Why? Exactly, before project start. So this is one cost which occurs before the project, before the grant agreement is signed. So that's why they are not eligible costs. So how it looks like, so the grant agreement, the signature is at the end of the negotiation phase. The signature is between the Commission and the coordinator, actually, and the beneficiaries sign only the accession forms. And it establishes the rights and obligations between the consortium and the Commission. The consortium agreement need to be signed before the signature of the grant agreement, so during the negotiation phase, between the coordinator and the beneficiaries, and it sets the legal basis of the cooperation inside of the consortium. So what is the usual content for such a consortium agreement? Usually there are three parts in the consortium agreement. The first part is the project management, the internal organization of the consortium. So the resources be done by the partners, the schedules for the milestones and deliverables, the contribution, and some committees, how the project management works. For example, a steering committee, some specific project management roles within the consortium. Then that's why I put it in red. In my opinion, the most important part of the consortium agreement are the intellectual property right arrangements. So, for example, rules about the confidentiality within the consortium, the background selection, the use of the IP which will be generated during the proposal, who has the exploitation role, for example, who will apply for patents, the ownership of the results, the protection of the results, and the exploitation and dissemination of the results during the project and afterwards. So this is also always important. Usually a consortium agreement goes beyond the grant agreement. And finally, settlement of internal disputes. If there are problems, how do you deal with problems within, during the proposal, during the project and after the project phase? So once again, the IP, the intellectual property rights, are really, really the most important part of the consortium agreement. So that's why you have to consider very well about your background, your side ground, and how to deal with the results of the proposal, of the project, sorry. And consider that the whole organization is the beneficiary. So, for example, in our case, the whole university is the unit who signs the contract. That means, in principle, when you say, okay, all my background, so all my former knowledge can be used for the project, then the PI at one faculty signs for all other faculties. So that's why consider very well what kind of background can be used in the project. Dissemination, transfer of ownership, and the access rights from outside of the consortium to the results of the projects need clearly to be defined. For Marie Sklodowska-Curie, I already mentioned this yesterday, consider what happens with the management and overhead costs for the project. So as I told you yesterday, there's management and overhead is put together into one column in the budget, and of course, especially for European training networks, the coordinator has an enormous management, a lot of management tasks to be done. Organizing the exchange of staff, organizing the training schools, organizing summer schools, organizing the whole management of the network. So this is really a lot of work. So that's why usually the way is to separate this costs 50-50, that half of the beneficiary management and overhead costs go to the coordinator. But this must be defined in the consortium agreement so that everyone at the organization knows they will not get so much overheads as they may expect. Look at the different model agreements, or also choose your own if you like. If you have one at your organization, you're not obliged to take, for example, the DESCA template, but once again, it's a very good one, and it can be recommended to be used. And of course, you need legal advice. Either you have your own legal department at your organization, or you seek advice for example, intellectual property legal counsel. And there's one organization set up by the Commission, which is very, very helpful, which is called the IPR Help Desk. They're reacting very fastly and very, very helpful in any questions concerning consortium agreements. So this is how what it means to be background, sideground, foreground, and results. So the background are all the rights you already have before the project. So consider them well. The sideground are some knowledge or research which occurring during the project, but which are not part of the project. And of course, the results are the IP rights generated during the project for getting the results of the project and for fulfilling the deliverables, milestones, and results you promised in your Annex 2 of the project. Some links. So you have in the participant portal, you have this very, very helpful online manual. So all information done by the Commission can now be found in this online manual, and it's a really, really good system. There's also on each side you have this how-to button, which helps you within the electronic systems. And there's also video of this e-signature process, and the consortium agreement. All of them have their own websites where you can access them. Also where you can find some kind of annotated versions of them with some explanations in the text, what is meant by that and that and that text. And once again, this really, really helpful IPR help desk. Okay. Okay, that's all. Are there any questions about the phase between the evaluation and the project start? Yep.
Maybe from your experience, what is the biggest problem you have with partners on a project?
The biggest problem with it, what you have with partners, usually. So I think Inge also will deal with that, and also said it yesterday in his presentation, this intercultural cooperation you will have. Intercultural does not only mean, for example, between countries. The main problems we have is the intercultural interactions between companies and universities. Especially the university, the main aim of the university is publications. And the main aim of company is getting money and hiding everything. And get as much as possible intellectual property rights to their side. And of course, as you know, when one researcher publishes anything or even just tells a group of people in a conference what he, about his results, then immediately it cannot be patented anymore. So this, from my point of view, is the biggest problem. The cooperation between university and industry concerning intellectual property rights. And that's why I also try to figure out so strictly this importance of those intellectual property rights in the Consortium Agreement.
How about this data issue? Is that in the grant agreement?
What issues?
About the data, where it's stored and who has the rights to it.
The data?
Yeah.
Data protection?
Went through some Marie Curie projects, and there was a big section on data, and where we keep the data and who has access to it.
Okay, yeah.
It was quite a big thing, and everybody was like, what is this?
Yeah.
So is that in the Consortium Agreement? Or
Yeah,
grant?
in the Consortium Agreement.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so we are a little bit quicker than planned, so that will save us some time for the discussion about the results from yesterday. So thank you very much for your attention.